They told us the future was electric. But what if they were wrong? A leaked blueprint just shattered the auto world. BYD, China's electric giant, has secretly built an engine that doesn't run on lithium, doesn't plug into chargers, and doesn't burn a drop of fuel. It runs on water. Yes, distilled liquid water. And in the words of one BYD insider, this engine makes our entire EV lineup obsolete within 3 years. This isn't a wild rumor. This is the hydrocore engine, a classified powertrain that uses superheated water vapor to produce instant hydrogen inside the chamber, bypassing batteries, rare earth metals, and charging infrastructure entirely. Just hours after the leak hit, over $2.7 billion in EV investments were wiped out. Tesla's supply chains are shaking, and satellite images suggest BYD's been building a secret hydrogen megafactory in the Gobi Desert under military-grade security. And we're only scratching the surface. The auto industry has faced disruption before, but not like this. Not with something so primitive and yet so powerful. It wasn't a press release, not a keynote, just a low-resolution blueprint dumped onto an obscure tech forum at 2:43 a.m. Beijing time. 10 minutes later, it vanished. But not before it spread like wildfire across encrypted Telegram channels, engineering subreddits, and investor group chats. What it showed didn't look like any battery. It looked like steam piping tubes, valves, a combustion core, and at the top a label, BYD Hydrocore Engine V1.03. Internal use only. No lithium, no cobalt, no charging ports, just water. That's all it needs. Spec sheets claimed a range of 1,100 km per refill. That's not a typo. 100 km on water vapor. The same stuff coming out of your tea kettle. No plug, no supercharger, no need to stop. An internal BYD memo leaked just hours later, stamped with red urgency tags. The language was blunt. Projected cannibalization of existing EV platforms. Estimated obsolescence window, 3 years. Translated. BYD had just built something that could destroy its own empire and every other electric vehicle brand along with it. By sunrise, the fallout had begun. EV-heavy ETFs tanked, bleeding over $2.7 billion in value in under 48 hours. Hedge funds scrambled to dump lithium positions. Auto analysts froze, unable to explain what was happening. And in China, 3 major news articles published by state outlets were pulled within the hour. Screenshots revealed they discussed a disruptive hydrogen vapor propulsion system developed by BYD. Hours later, revised versions reappeared with sanitized language and vague technical references. But it was already too late. The story had escaped. And here's the twist. This wasn't some miracle from nowhere. It was based on science the world had tried to bury. In the 1980s, Stanley Meyer rolled out what he called a water-powered car. He claimed it could drive from Los Angeles to New York on 22 gallons of water. Patent filings, media interviews, demonstrations, and then he died, collapsed during a dinner. His brother called it poisoning. Investigations went nowhere. His lab was emptied. His blueprints disappeared. Most dismissed him as a hoax, but some whispered he'd been silenced. Fast forward to now, and BYD is bringing that ghost story back to life. But this isn't backyard science. This is aerospace-grade engineering. What they've developed isn't just hydrogen power. It's instantaneous hydrogen conversion. No fuel cells, no dangerous tanks. Their engine uses superheated electrolysis to split distilled water into hydrogen and oxygen inside the engine block just milliseconds before combustion. That means no storage, no transport, no explosive risk. The system activates only when the accelerator is pressed. When it's idle, it cools down. It's safe, efficient, and if the data is real, stunningly powerful. Engineers estimate a 78% thermal efficiency rate. That's triple what early hydrogen models achieved. And that patent, the one describing a dual-cycle catalytic vapor chamber, it was filed in Shenzhen in April 2025 and vanished just 2 weeks later from China's database. Some say it was pulled by the state. Others think it was locked into a national defense archive. But the tech didn't just threaten EV companies. It struck at the heart of the lithium empire. And no one felt it more than Elon Musk. Just months ago, Tesla finalized a $10 billion deal with Piedmont Minerals for guaranteed lithium supply through 2040. It was supposed to be a masterstroke. Now it looks like a death sentence. Because if cars can run on water, lithium becomes the new coal, an obsolete relic of yesterday's technology. Musk responded the only way he knows how, with a cryptic tweet. "This is worse than the Osborne effect," he wrote, then deleted. For those who don't know, the Osborne effect refers to when a company unintentionally kills demand for its own product by hinting something better is coming. Except this time it wasn't a rumor. It was real, and it wasn't Tesla doing the innovating. Tesla's entire infrastructure, over 50,000 superchargers globally, its lithium battery gigafactories, its closed-loop recycling ecosystem, could become irrelevant overnight. Battery recyclers saw $1.4 billion in value disappear in a single Monday. Analysts began referring to the moment not as a disruption, but as a collapse, the hydroquake. But the real evidence this was no hype came from space. Satellite imagery of a previously unreported BYD facility in western China showed a vast industrial complex surrounded by fencing, guard towers, and heavy surveillance. But here's what made it strange. There were no battery storage units, no solar panels. Instead, rows of cylindrical tanks, turbine stacks, and what appeared to be cooling towers. Locals reported low-frequency vibrations, roaring sounds like turbines spinning up, engineers arriving in armored convoys. BYD insisted it was a geothermal project. Then a drone video leaked. Internal signage showed the truth. Hydrogen core reactor, Sky River Division. Analysts zoomed in. They estimated a 5-gigawatt hydrogen conversion capacity, enough to fuel 2 million water engines per year. Not a prototype, not a lab, a working facility. And the name of this mysterious operation, Project Sky River. 3 years ahead of schedule, fully funded, running 24/7. While rivals were still troubleshooting kilowatts, BYD was vaporizing the entire battery playbook. No wires, no charging stations, just hydrogen, heat, and horsepower. It didn't just redefine an engine. It triggered a chain reaction. Because when the world realized what Project Sky River meant for batteries, markets didn't wait. The tremor began in Shenzhen. The quake hit Wall Street. And the aftershock went global. In just 9 days, lithium spot prices collapsed by 34%, the steepest plunge since the chaos of 2020. Only this time, the panic wasn't viral. It was industrial extinction. Australian lithium mines, the backbone of the battery supply chain, hit the brakes. Shipments froze. Executives panicked. One insider from Pilbara Minerals admitted on live TV, "This is worse than COVID for us. There is no rebound strategy." Thousands of tons of lithium sat unsold in holding facilities across Perth, Santiago, and Qinghai. Overnight, Chile, the second-largest lithium producer on Earth, called for emergency trade talks with its key battery export partners. Their president issued a grim warning. "If water replaces lithium, our entire economic model must be rewritten." But not everyone was losing. While lithium-dependent companies bled billions, one stock surged like a missile: BYD. In 48 hours, BYD's market cap jumped 58%. It briefly surpassed Tesla to become the world's most valuable automaker. Investors swarmed in like it was the next Apple, the next Google, the next iPhone launch, but bigger. Because this wasn't just a better car, it was a better fuel, a new element in the global power game. And BYD controlled the match. But the real shock was the engine itself. The early prototype was tested in Tibet, a brutal altitude battleground where combustion engines gasp for air and batteries freeze. The result? It crushed expectations. BYD's water-powered prototype outran a Tesla Model S in back-to-back uphill drag races. No battery, no charging time, no lithium, just distilled water and a pressurized catalytic chamber that produces pure hydrogen and oxygen on demand, then burns it clean. 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. And what comes out of the tailpipe? Steam. Exactly 100 degrees. No carbon, no nitrogen oxide, no smell, just vapor. No rare earth metals, no cobalt from war-torn mines, no nickel, no acid spills, no child labor in Congo. Just water in, steam out. Engineers call it the dragon's breath. It doesn't roar, it hisses, a pulsing rhythm of heat and vapor that almost feels alive. The footage leaked online, and within hours it was being dissected frame by every auto analyst and physicist on YouTube. The verdict? It's real. It works. And it's coming faster than anyone expected. That's when the geopolitical storm hit full throttle. In Washington, the Senate held emergency hearings under the headline, Foreign Disruption of Domestic Energy Infrastructure. Translation: China just built something America didn't see coming and can't replicate yet. A leaked Pentagon report made its way to select journalists. It read like sci-fi, but with real-world implications. Chinese hydrogen dominance threatens to collapse existing battery alliances. Risk index, red. The phrase that stuck out, shift in global power balance probable within 36 months, if not countered. Ford and GM immediately started lobbying to restrict BYD's hydrogen vehicle imports to North America. They called it a national security risk. Behind closed doors, they admitted the real problem. They had no competing product. None. Meanwhile, the Department of Energy scrambled to divert funding into sodium hydride propulsion research, but internal reports admit they're at least 4 years behind, maybe more. Then came the unthinkable. The White House began floating the use of the Defense Production Act, not for a war, not for a pandemic, against water engines. The same law used to ramp up vaccine production might now be used to block a car that runs on H2O. But the panic wasn't just in Washington. It was hitting oil country too. Saudi Aramco, the petroleum giant of the Middle East, invested $1 billion into synthetic hydrogen R&D in a desperate attempt to stay in the game. But it looked like a bet placed after the horse already left the stable. ExxonMobil launched a media blitz of ads claiming water cars were unsafe, unregulated, and untested. They showed explosions, fear graphics, fictional crashes. It didn't work because people weren't watching ads. They were watching vapor engines hiss up mountains while Teslas cooled off on charging cables. OPEC issued a joint statement warning of a hydrogen war if BYD refused to share its patents globally. Their phrasing was cold. Technological hoarding of hydrogen conversion methods may lead to systemic economic instability. Translation: share it, or there will be consequences. BP, sensing the direction of the wind, announced it was converting one of its largest Texas refineries into a green steam complex, a refinery with no oil, just water purification and hydrogen turbines. But again, they were behind. BYD had already filed 36 patents across 9 countries preemptively, quietly, with airtight protections. And that's the part no one predicted. This wasn't some garage-built prototype. It was a corporate war strategy, a long-planned rollout, a multi-continent legal fortress. While the world was debating the range of lithium-ion batteries, BYD had been weaponizing water. And now the gate had opened. What followed was inevitable. They tried to stop it with lawsuits, propaganda, and politics. But this wasn't a product anymore. It was a movement. And by the time the patent war exploded, it was already too late. At 9:41 a.m. Beijing time, BYD's patent lawyer filed a 6,800-page defense document, digitally signed and sealed at the World Intellectual Property Organization in Geneva. Moments later, Toyota, Honda, and Hyundai jointly submitted an aggressive legal opposition. Their claim? That BYD's core vapor engine design infringed on previously registered catalytic heat diffusion models filed back in 2019. But BYD came prepared for war. They unleashed 47 counterfilings in just 2 days, accusing Japanese firms of corporate espionage dating back to 2021. One filing contained flight logs, USB drive inventories, and even intercepted Slack messages. According to BYD's legal team, stacked with former Huawei IP operatives, Japan hadn't just copied a blueprint. They'd attempted to replicate the exact atomic lattice structure of BYD's hydrogen-to-steam catalyst. WIPO scrambled to respond. By midweek, the media was calling it the CRISPR of clean energy, the biggest patent standoff of the century. But this time, it wasn't about genes. It was about energy supremacy. One insider warned, this isn't just about who owns a motor. It's about who owns the 21st century. And then the numbers dropped hard. BYD's production model, codenamed H9V Draco, entered limited fleet testing. What engineers found obliterated every EV benchmark on record. The Draco engine cost 48% less to manufacture than the average lithium EV drivetrain. And it didn't just match performance, it outlived it. On average, the prototype ran 800,000 kilometers with nothing but water refills and periodic air filter changes. No coolant flushes, no oil changes, no battery degradation. And it wasn't just theoretical. BYD quietly signed agreements with 28 countries to begin mass deployment by Q1 2026. Brazil, South Africa, the UAE, Indonesia, Italy, all signed on within 3 weeks. BYD's internal forecast predicted 15 million units sold by 2028, nearly double Tesla's 2024 global delivery numbers. And every unit would save the consumer up to $3,000 a year in maintenance and refueling. Investors went feral. And then came something no spreadsheet could explain. Something the analysts didn't predict. Faith. In rural India, a pastor called it divine propulsion. In Kenya, school children prayed around BYD logos like they were holy relics. In Alabama, a viral preacher held up a bottle of purified water and shouted, "The Lord made the fuel free." Meanwhile, the darker corners of the internet lit up with theories. Conspiracy forums screamed, the water engine was killed in the 1980s. They couldn't kill this one. Some claimed the CIA had buried similar tech for decades. Others uploaded fake videos of water-powered planes, claiming the next step was perpetual motion. In one clip, a TikTok creator pours tap water into a BYD trunk and drives off into the mountains. No engine noise, just the gentle hiss of steam. That video alone racked up 96 million views in 48 hours. But where was the Western media? For 5 straight days, not a single major US or European outlet covered the story. No front pages, no news alerts, nothing. It was as if someone had thrown a blackout switch. And during those 5 days, BYD's valuation surpassed Volkswagen, then Ford, then GM, and then Tesla. Only Chinese state TV aired a dedicated 12-minute segment declaring, "China has ended fossil tyranny." And at the center of it all was a single phrase spreading like wildfire across engineering forums and coding chat rooms. Water 1.0. Because this wasn't just an engine. It was a reset button, a quiet revolution. And the old powers, big oil, the lithium kings, the tech gatekeepers, weren't ready. Saudi Aramco scrambled to stay relevant, investing $1 billion into synthetic hydrogen labs in Norway. ExxonMobil launched an ad campaign calling water engines unstable, untested, unsafe, complete with CGI car explosions and fireballs. BP pivoted entirely, announcing the conversion of its largest Texas facility into a green steam complex. But it didn't matter. BYD had already filed 36 patents across 9 countries, and every one of them was watertight. Quite literally. Even the White House panicked. After leaked Pentagon memos described hydrogen dominance as a geostrategic disruptor, emergency Senate hearings erupted in Washington. One senator grilled a Department of Energy official on live television. Are we being outpaced by a steam engine? DOE scientists tried to reassure lawmakers with alternatives: sodium hydride cells, compressed air propulsion, biosynth fuels. But every option was years behind. And BYD, they were months away from mass production. Then, in a private interview, an anonymous official from a major American automaker dropped a bombshell. They skipped the battery age. While we were busy mining lithium, they were building dragons. Dragons. That's how engineers describe the vapor engine. Not roaring like gasoline, not humming like electric. It hissed. It breathed, it exhaled steam like ancient machinery reborn. And in Tibet, the very first civilian tests stunned everyone. On a steep mountain drag strip, BYD's Draco prototype beat a Tesla Model S 0 to 60 in just 3.2 seconds without a single lithium cell on board. Spectators watched in silence as white clouds rose behind it, like smoke from a temple. It wasn't just fast, it was poetic. And quietly, almost invisibly, the world began to change. Norway offered free registration for water-powered vehicles. Chile proposed bilateral water trade deals with China. Australia reopened two shuttered hydrogen plants after lithium prices collapsed. And in South Korea, Hyundai's CEO allegedly told investors behind closed doors, "We missed the pivot again." The lithium age had lasted barely 15 years. It had built empires, shifted borders, made billionaires overnight. But now the age of water was here, and it was whispering through the turbines, hissing from the manifolds, steaming down the highways. The only question left was, who dares to stop it?